Hi, and welcome to DrupalBrief. This is an AI-generated summary of another video, podcast, or blog post. If you want to learn more about what's being discussed here, then please go check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at DrupalForge. DrupalForge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. Okay, that's it. Make sure to click subscribe, and here we go.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing a real deep dive into just one source. Issue 687 of the Weekly Drop newsletter. It's dated June 19th, 2025.
Right.
And this isn't, just your average list of links. It's more like a snapshot, really, of the pulse of the whole Drupal open source ecosystem. Shows where things are at.
Yeah, what's happening right now.
Exactly. So our mission today is basically to unpack this week's worth of news, articles, tutorials, all that stuff, and pull out the most important nuggets, maybe some surprising insights too. Think of it as like your shortcut to getting quickly up to speed on what's driving the Drupal world.
And it's amazing, isn't it, how much ground a single issue like this can cover. I mean, you've got cutting-edge AI stuff right next to fundamental changes in core architecture.
Totally.
And then really practical advice for developers just trying to get their job done. If you sort of zoom out, it paints a picture of this ongoing evolution, for a mature platform. So yeah, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's do it. So the absolute headline, I think we'd agree, has to be the Drupal AI initiative. The newsletter announces Drupal AI 1.1.0 is out. Major new features. I mean, that sounds like a game changer.
It really does. And the immediate question that pops up is, what does this actually mean for users, for developers?
Right.
We see this reflected in the article section too. There's that inside the Drupal AI strategy piece from Salsa Digital. It makes it clear this isn't just like a tacked-on feature.
Yeah.
It's a strategic direction. What makes Drupal AI 1.1.0 interesting isn't just, hey, there's AI, but how it seems poised to redefine things like the content lifecycle.
How so?
Well, think about the memory banks concept they mentioned. That could mean AI models learning your specific content style, your brand voice, over time, which could, drastically cut down on the manual effort for maybe more routine content tasks, freeing up editors for the more strategic stuff.
That is a huge potential time saver. And what I found compelling, sort of building on that, was seeing the specific releases listed right there, like AI 1.1.0 and AI Agents 1.1.0.
Yeah, exactly.
It really drives home how quickly this is moving from just an idea to something actually integrated.
Yeah.
But, with something moving this fast, like AI, how does the community handle stability, maintainability? Are there risks with adopting it so quickly?
That's a really important point. I think the open source nature of Drupal actually helps there. The strong community, the modular approach.
Right.
New modules get tested, they get reviewed, they can iterate quickly. But yeah, there are always considerations. And for anyone looking for the practical side right now, there's that tutorial mentioned, how to supercharge AI coding with cursor rules and memory banks.
Ah, yes, I saw.
This shows the immediate, hands-on impact. It's not just theory. It's about tools you can use now for efficiency, for consistency when you're actually writing code. That's invaluable.
Definitely. So, okay, AI is clearly a big part of the future picture. But a lot of people listening might be thinking, okay, that's great, but what about my existing Drupal 7 site?
Right. Yeah, the perennial question.
And this newsletter seems to have a pretty clear message on that front. Modernization.
Absolutely. It's right there in the sponsored article. Drupal 7 was great in 2011. Let's modernize. Optasea sponsored that one.
Right. 2011 feels like a different era online.
It really does. And they even offer a free audit, which is interesting, to assess your D7 site and figure out what it takes to get to Drupal 11. It's not just about D7 being old. It's about how the web has changed.
Good point.
Modern Drupal is, API first. It supports Headless. It offers much more granular control, stuff that's critical now for complex digital experiences that, frankly, D7 wasn't built for.
That makes sense. But for those maybe not quite ready to make that leap, there's also the Tag 1 D7ES sponsor note offering support plans to keep D7 sites secure. So it feels like the community is trying to strike that balance,
Yeah.
Pushing forward, but also supporting those who need more time.
It really highlights that balance, yeah. And alongside this whole modernization message, you see real progress. The release candidates are out. Drupal 10.5.0-RC1 and Drupal 11.2.0 RC2. That shows active development is happening across multiple major versions. They're walking the talk.
And speaking of evolution, kind of a fun side note, that ImageX article celebrating Happy 30th Birthday, PHP.
Ah, yeah.
It's a good reminder that the language powering Drupal has its own long history of evolving too. Kind of puts it all in perspective.
30 years, wow, okay.
So we've hit the cutting edge with AI and the big push for modernization. Let's maybe shift gears a bit and look underneath the hood at the core improvements and architectural stuff that enables all this. This issue had some key bits for developers.
Yeah, definitely. And if you connect these to the bigger picture, these updates are often about making development smoother, more flexible. Take block content access classes move from block content to core.
Okay, what's the impact of that?
Well, previously, controlling who sees specific blocks could be a bit, let's say, fragmented, custom code, contrib modules.
Right.
Moving these access classes into core gives developers a standard, more robust, kind of future-proof way to manage block visibility right out of the box.
More consistent.
Exactly. And then there's configurable trait and configurable plugin base that's aimed squarely at reducing plugin boilerplate.
Boilerplate. So less repetitive code.
Precisely. Boilerplate is that generic setup code you have to write again and again. These tools mean less time on that standard stuff, more time on the actual unique logic of your plugin. Faster development, fewer errors potentially. It's a win.
Sounds like a definite win. I also noticed updates like the change to JSON.API's handling of reference fields.
Yep.
Supporting UID or revision ID now. For folks maybe not deep in data structures, can you quickly break down UID and revision ID and why that change matters?
Sure. So a UUID is a universally unique identifier. Think of it as a permanent, globally unique serial number for a piece of content. It never changes, even if the content moves or gets updated.
Gotcha. Permanent.
Right. A revision ID, on the other hand, points to a specific version of that content in its history. So this change in JSON.API means you can now link to content using either its permanent UUID or a specific historical version ID.
Oh, okay.
This gives you much more precision and robustness, especially in complex setups like workflows or integrations where you absolutely need to know you're referencing the exact right piece of content, or maybe even a specific past version of it.
Makes sense. Much more flexible. Then moving beyond the core a bit, that SpecB article, B2B is going headless. Decoupled versus traditional Drupal explained. What's the quick take on headless and why B2B?
Okay, so headless basically means Drupal manages the content in the backend, does all the content modeling and storage.
Right, the brain.
Exactly. But the front end, what the user actually sees and interacts with, is built separately, maybe using a JavaScript framework like React or Vue. It talks to Drupal via APIs.
Okay.
This gives you enormous flexibility in designing the user experience. For B2B, this is often crucial because they might need highly customized interfaces, deep integrations with other business systems, or they need to push content to many different places, not just a website. Headless separates the content from its presentation.
Totally see the B2B application there. And one more development mentioned was the Drupal Modeler API, ready for testing, from Lake Drops. Sounds like another way to interact with Drupal's structure.
Precisely. It points towards new tools for developers to maybe visualize or programmatically interact with Drupal's configuration and content structures, another piece in making Drupal more adaptable.
So it's not all just big features and, deep technical architecture. This newsletter also really shines a light on the community spirit and the practical everyday solutions that kind of make Drupal, Drupal.
Yeah, that really comes through. I mean, those Drop Times articles, we really want more people contributing to Drupal and honoring the balance. They really speak to the community's desire for, more engagement, keeping the ecosystem healthy. For any open source project, contributions are the lifeblood, right? Code, docs, testing, even just helping out in forums.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that everyone can actually play a part.
There really is.
And for folks actually creating content day to day, there's the What's New in the Drupal CMS User Guide, June 2025 update from DrupalEyes.me.
Yeah, good to see user-facing docs getting updates.
And Metadrops, April 2025. New releases for Drupal ecosystem, privacy, and content editorial experience. So definite focus on the editorial side too.
And then for those immediate, real-world problems, the tutorials section is gold. Think about website availability, handling an outage from Freelock blog.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's nightmare.
Right. Anyone who's managed a site knows that feeling. This isn't just about preventing outages, but having a solid plan for when they do happen. That's critical. Then you've got how to reduce content entity cache tags. That's pure performance tuning. And comparing Drupal cookie consent modules for GDPR and privacy from joshx.in.
Very relevant.
These are direct answers to common, often critical issues that site owners face literally every day. Super practical stuff.
Absolutely practical. And for those maybe looking for opportunities, it's worth remembering you can list jobs on Drupal jobs. This issue highlights roles like full-stack Drupal engineer, lead Drupal developer, DevOps full stack. Shows there's still a really active job market needing these skills.
Definitely. And finally, if you want to go even deeper, hear directly from people in the community, the newsletter lists some recent podcasts.
Oh, right.
Growing Engineering Culture with Ev Maslovsky on Beyond Blocks, Talking Drupal #507 about the International Drupal Federation, and TD Cafe #004 with Ivan Stajic and Randy Ost. Great ways to get more context on some of these topics.
Yeah, lots of listening material there. So, okay, there you have it. A really condensed but hopefully comprehensive look at the Drupal ecosystem, all filtered through this one issue of the Weekly Drop.
Quite a week.
Yeah, we've touched on everything from, cutting-edge AI to the absolutely vital community work and those practical tips for just keeping your site running smoothly. Hopefully this deep dive gave you some good aha moments, maybe some fresh knowledge.
And maybe it brings us to a final thought to leave you with. Given everything we've seen, the rapid AI advancements, the push to modernize, but also the need to support older versions, how do you see that balance between pushing innovation and maintaining stability? How does that play out in a huge open source project like Drupal?
Interesting question.
And maybe more personally, how might your own contributions, whether they feel big or small, actually influence that trajectory going forward? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. Well, thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time.
Okay, we're done. To close off this podcast, I just wanted to remind you that this brief was a fully AI-generated summary, and we take no credit for the original content. If you want to learn more, then check out the source. This podcast is produced by the team at Drupal Forge. Drupal Forge is the new #1 open-source development and hosting platform. It has all the functionality of the expensive platforms, but at very affordable prices. If you're looking for a new hosting provider, contact us for a demo before you get locked in. And if you like this podcast, hit subscribe, post a link on social media, and recommend it to 2 friends. That's it. See you next time. Bye for now.